Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on WWL Plus and wherever you are live streaming this right now. We're gonna talk about the weather. I'm Devin Bartolotta here with Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin, the man with all the answers, or as many answers as he can give us.
Or as many answers as I have right now.
And we are talking about winter weather. Isn't everybody talking about winter weather right now?
We started talking about it on Monday,
Yeah.
and it was starting to look a little bit more and more likely really yesterday when the models finally started to see some agreement, and that has continued today. And if that does continue through the weekend, I mean, there's still some changes that could happen. This could all, not actually happen. As I was looking at the models, we're not going to see anything form until really more late Monday into the start of the early morning hours of Tuesday. Then we're expecting the, everything to come in on Tuesday morning. So kind of like with the tropics, until something has formed, the models don't do a great job. But when you see consistency, they're obviously picking up on something.
And we know that, as you mentioned, with the tropics, things, the closer you get, the more refined the forecast gets.
Absolutely.
So we're getting a little bit closer today.
We're getting a little closer.
We're going to be here for about 25-ish minutes, and I'm watching our Facebook feed here on my computer. So if you do have questions for Chris, go ahead and type them into our live feed on Facebook, and we will ask him live. I want to start with one of those, Chris.
Okay.
This kind of pertains to the timeline of things. This is from Ashley, and she asks, is there any reason to stay off the roads Monday?
No, there is no reason to stay off roads on Monday. We'll be fine. It's going to be bitterly cold on Monday. Temperatures on Monday will be in the 20s in the morning, only warming into the mid to upper 30s during the day, but also strong winds. So the morning on Monday, we're looking at a hard freeze both sides of the lake, but feeling like the teens to start the morning. So you can be on the roads. I wouldn't recommend it. And thankfully, with it being a holiday, I would expect fewer folks to be out on the road. But as far as safety concerns go, weather-wise, it'll be fine on Monday. Even Tuesday morning will be okay. That's when we're going to start to see some of this wintry weather moving in. Wherever temperatures are below freezing at that point, it's going to be snow, near freezing. It's going to be kind of an ice. I don't foresee much ice accumulation Tuesday morning. That ice concern on the roads is really going to be more for Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning, which is why while all this nasty weather is moving in, we've already seen a number of closures being announced for Tuesday. I would expect that as we kind of reassess whatever does happen on Tuesday, it may be that Wednesday as well things are closed only because that's when we would really see the ice on the roadways.
Yeah, and that's something that somebody else asked. Diana asked about ice in Washington Parish, at least, on Wednesday. So how much of this is going to trickle over, per se, into the next day?
That's a good question, because not everyone will see the ice. That's something that is important to note. If we actually go to our computers, we've got like 3 cameras to figure out.
Which
there
one
we
do you
go.
look at? There
this
you go.
is the best forecast right now, and we're still a little farther out. This will be refined, as Devin mentioned. But the best scenario for ice is really going to be where we get that snow that melts, freezing rain, sleet, and any of that accumulation on the ground, then freezing Tuesday night going into Wednesday morning. So really the best bet for ice on roads are going to be south of I-12. So asking about Washington Parish, ice probably won't be as much of a concern, nor would it be in northern Tangi. Southern Tangi, St. Tammany, and all of our South Shore parishes, river parishes, we have the better chance for the ice on Wednesday morning. Really starting late Tuesday as those temperatures start dipping back below freezing.
I know one of the parts of this forecast that gets refined the longer that you wait is the freeze line and who all is going to be frozen. We've got some friends down in Homa who are asking about them. Obviously, it's a little further south than New Orleans, so should they be expecting the same thing that New Orleans is, or maybe will they be better off?
Yes, no. Going again to the graphics, the freeze line or the snow sleet line, that line is going to meander. So this is just kind of a single snapshot on Tuesday. This is not where it's going to be all day on Tuesday. What we have highlighted in blue is really north of I-12, where it's going to be more of a snow accumulation. I think temperatures will likely stay below freezing the entire time, so that will remain as snow. Any kind of a warm air wedge, I think, is going to stay south of that. Where we could at times sometimes occasionally see a warm wedge would be more in that fuchsia, magenta color. Is that a color, right?
Magenta.
Is it magenta?
Fuchsia, yes,
Or pink?
all of that.
That pink color.
Pink.
How about that?
Love
That's going to be where it changes from rain, sleet, and snow. These are also the areas in pink where ice is going to be more of a concern going into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. So that would include Houma. We'll likely see very much the similar setup that we will see here in the city.
Okay, now when it comes to best, worst case scenario, whatever you said yesterday, a nice, pretty, beautiful snow
that would be
melts on
phenomenal.
contact.
Yes, it's all snow. That would be great.
Yeah.
The Euro was the model that had been kind of indicating that, but even that changes over at some point in the late evening to a sleet snow mix to where then if that melts any snow or it falls as liquid rain and then refreezes, then you have the ice concern. So, unless something dramatically changes going into the weekend, I would say that best scenario, what we're looking at, and I say best scenario meaning the more likely forecast, is what I'm thinking is we're going to see that line meandering back and forth, and it will be more of a mess from the river parishes in the city, Bayou region, as an ice concern going into Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
And ice concerns are never good. We know that could impact power. We know that the cold in general impacts plumbing and pipes and all that. So hopefully the mess is at a minimum.
That's what we're hoping. But as that cold air, speaking of pipes, as that cold air is now well into Canada, now we're starting to get a far better picture of just how cold we're going to get. And that's where the models are really starting to push for the hard freeze possibility on the South Shore as well. Definitely Monday, maybe Tuesday. Tuesday is kind of the wild card just with this wintry weather moving in with regards to our temperatures. But then again on Wednesday morning. So Monday, Wednesday morning, again, it doesn't matter if it's one morning, 2 mornings, or all mornings. Once you protected your pipe south of the lake, just leave them protected for the week, because we're expecting that cold air. Not that it's going to be an issue every single morning, but certainly the way it's looking Monday and Wednesday. So just once they're protected, keep them protected.
We've got some friends online watching us from Picayune, Mississippi. We have Nicole and Lisa are asking us, what's Picayune going to see? What should they expect? Picayune
would be in the more likely region of it just staying as snow. Again, it's going to be, this is one of those, and I'm not trying to just cover my rear end. It tends to be, just in my experience of forecasting winter weather here, which isn't frequent, but when it does happen, almost always you see that freezing line on radar meandering back and forth. So Picayune could be close. I think probably maybe more of a likelihood of it just staying as snow. And I don't even want to go through the model percentages with where it thinks it's going to be all snow, where it thinks it's going to be, because the models are going to do sometimes a 180 number on those. I'm just basing it on what I've seen based on the models consistently and what has happened in the past with these type of events. We tend to see that little freezing line meandering back and forth.
And the freezing line doesn't necessarily mean cut and dry. If you are below freezing, you are going to get frozen precipitation.
No, that's not how it works.
Can you talk about that?
Yes,
you said the whole column of atmosphere, something about columns of atmosphere.
Yes, there are columns of atmosphere. We had talked a little about yesterday, and it actually is a really interesting way to look at wintry weather. If we can go to the graphics here, if your entire column, so this is the far right, if your entire column of the atmosphere, so I'm going from the base of the clouds down to the surface, if that entire area is below freezing, it is snow. Now, if you have this narrow wedge aloft, as we're kind of going from right to left, if you have it falling as frozen precipitation, when it's falling out of the clouds, it is snow. Then it melts and refreezes, that is sleet. If it's a wider column of warm air, it starts as frozen, melts, refreezes at the surface, that is ice or freezing rain. And then if the entire column is above freezing, it is just a rain. But for us, and when we say warmer air, we mean above freezing. So that warmer air may just be in the upper 30s. That's where you would get that cold rain. But that warm wedge kind of also will meander back and forth. That is what is so complicated with winter weather forecasting along the Gulf Coast. We are still a subtropical climate. You know, Gulf water temperatures can still be, now right along our coast they're very chilly, but not too far offshore, water temperatures are in the 60s. So all it takes is a little bit of a boost of some of that warmer air to send in some part of that warm air column over us, and it immediately changes from snow to rain, ice, or sleet, and then going back and forth. So it is not going to be a cut and dry, perfectly easily forecasted type of winter weather. That's why, again, you look at those graphics, ice, sleet, folks will say, well, we're below freezing, why isn't it all snow? Well, this little warm air that is aloft, meaning the mid or upper levels of the atmosphere, as soon as that gets above freezing, then it creates more of the nightmare type winter weather.
Oh, we love the word nightmare when we're talking about
weather.
Headache. Headache. We like that better.
Not nightmare.
So I guess this is in contrast, this graphic that you're talking about is in contrast to somewhere like in the northern states where it has been cold and it will stay cold.
Yes.
Their whole column is cold. So if it's 32 below, they're going to get snow.
Right. That's why snow forecasting up north is easier with regards to the type. It then becomes more of an issue with accumulations. And to be perfectly honest, we haven't really started to dive into the accumulations because that is going to be probably the most complex part of this forecast going forward, is just how much we see. If there's going to be any kind of measurable snow, it's more likely going to be north of I-12.
Okay, that's good to know. We do have some people asking for like individual parish breakdowns, but like you said, that's really hard to say.
That's going to be hard to say right now. I would say throughout the weekend and into Monday, certainly we will have a better idea of those accumulation numbers, only because we're not quite within the range of where our high resolution models that really kind of get down into the neighborhood type range. Until we get to that, the numbers for accumulations are going to dramatically change. So we're not even really getting to that just yet.
We have been throwing so much shade on weather apps the
They're
last
awful.
4 days. Can you explain to me why one of them might say you're going to get inches and inches of snow and the other one might say you're going to get rain?
The problem with those apps are they are for
watch your words. We're on live television, Chris Franklin. Do they stick to one model? Is that why that is so true?
Well, there may be a little bit of finessing with which model it looks at, but they are not being augmented by a person. These are, it's just too much. You're trying to forecast for what we call point, forecasting, where you're trying to take a model and then take one point within that model without any human interaction in there. So I'm not doing it. I mean, that would make my job a whole lot easier if I just.
You're a real person.
Yeah,
right?
I am a human. I am a person. It's not just AI. No, none of us are AI. Okay. So even we haven't gotten to that point yet. Even with AI, it does help, but you still need a person to kind of get in there. And that's why I said, even with these computer models, such as the Euro going all snow, I would be shocked if that is the case. So then putting my human part of the brain into it, it's that, well, what we typically see in Southeast Louisiana is more of a snow event farther north, and it tends to be kind of that fluctuation south of the lake.
Okay. Now, I'm trying to remember when our last ice situation was. I don't think that I was working here yet. Was that 2014, 2016?
We did have some ice. We had some ice last year. We do have.
Do we have some last year?
We seemingly have ice more frequently than we have snow, because we can get these little warm wedges to allow the precipitation to fall liquid or sleet, and then refreezing and becoming an ice nightmare. One of the last times I can remember.
Again, Chris.
Well, it just because it becomes a hazard
it does,
on the road.
I mean,
even folks up north, when there's ice on the roads, even they who are very much equipped and skilled in that type of driving, it becomes so very dangerous. It is a very dangerous time to drive on the road. So certainly someone in the south or in the Gulf Coast that is not accustomed to it, and cars that are not equipped for it, it does become a little bit more of a hazard.
Can we talk about how you know if it's safe to go out or not on Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever things start falling from the sky?
It honestly is going to be a matter of, the officials going out and checking all of these roads. Thankfully, the temperatures by Wednesday, again, Wednesday is probably going to be the time that we see most of the ice on the roadways. I think by at least midday into the afternoon, we'll be getting above freezing. We should be
good.
under mostly sunny skies, so that should right there help kind of melt any dust. And we're also not talking about inches of ice. It may just be a glazing or kind of a glaze where it's a thin, you know, tenth of an inch, but that's all you need to create zero friction on the roads and for it to become a hazard. So hopefully if that's all we see, that's kind of a glaze, then that should melt very, very quickly, and then it's not an issue for the rest of the day Wednesday, and then we're not expecting any additional precipitation. Temperatures will be getting back below freezing Wednesday night, but if there's no additional precip, then it's not a big deal.
That's good. And I'm not even going to ask you about the worst case scenario because we're just not going to go there. We're not going to go there until
you know what? I don't even know what the worst case scenario would be.
Lots of ice.
Would be lots of ice. Would be the ice more widespread? Now, it's already pretty bad if we're talking river parishes and the city. You know, when you start closing all of our bridges and overpasses, you suddenly realize how much of an island we are.
Yeah.
We did see that not terribly long ago. I remember it was before I was chief and was coming in to do and help out for the morning show, and all overpasses were closed. I live in Jefferson Parish. As long as you're able to stay on surface streets, it tends not to be an issue. We had mentioned this and talked about it yesterday. We don't have frozen ground. The ground is well above freezing here, so any of the roads that are on the ground, they're not going to really see much of the ice. You could see patchy areas, but it's not going to be as bad as any of the elevated roads where you get wind that comes in underneath it, and then that surface is below freezing. Any of the surface streets should be okay.
And that is really playing in our favor, the fact that the road temperature is not below freezing.
No, it's
right
not.
now.
We're not talking about somewhere in the plains up in the north where we have been below freezing for days, weeks, sometimes months, where those ground temperatures will play a big role. That really isn't an issue here.
So as we get closer to Monday and Tuesday, do you think that we will have a better idea of that freeze line or of how many warm air wedges are in the atmosphere?
We could, but, and again, this is not just a cover my hindquarters. This is it is going to fluctuate. So exactly where it sets up at what point of the day is probably going to be near impossible. The only best case scenario for forecasting wintry weather is if you get that deep column of sub-freezing temperatures and that line, there is a line when we forecast using some of our forecasted charts, if that line is in the Gulf, then it stays as snow. But none of the models are indicating that.
Okay.
That would be the best case scenario for forecasting purposes and safety purposes, is that line that we use in forecasting is south of our coast.
Okay.
Then it's all snow, never
We want
is an
everybody to be
issue.
as cold as
and then
possible.
It's pretty, it's fun, and there really isn't the ice issue. That doesn't happen very often.
Okay.
It could, though.
We are going to cross our fingers for that.
If we watch the models this weekend and that is what starts to trend, then great news. But as of right now, and even that has not really been the trend in the models.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left here. So if you do have any more questions for Chris, pop them in our chat on the Facebook Live that we're on. We do have one that I probably can answer pretty quickly. Someone asked if the airport's going to be closed. How do they get to a flight on Wednesday if there's ice in the morning? That is really going to depend on how bad this is.
Right.
That's something that you're going to have to just check with your airline before you leave. And also, as far as how do you get to the airport on Wednesday, very carefully.
We might see some cancellations. We don't know if MSY, that'll be something to actually look into, if MSY has sent for any kind of de-icing type vehicles or materials needed to clear, but that's just something we don't know right now. If folks are asking about, school closures, and we are starting to see the list increase, that's not our call, obviously. I will get calls from some school boards and superintendents about
guiding them.
My advice is, if you can stay home on Tuesday, stay home on Tuesday. If you can even do it Wednesday morning, stay home Wednesday morning. We don't have too many snow days built into our school calendar. We may have used a few for Francine earlier. We tend to get the hurricane days, and thankfully we didn't have to use too many for Francine. So hopefully we have a few days kind of built in there where we can use them on Tuesday. Again, Monday will be fine. It's going to be bitterly cold Monday, so I'm kind of glad I don't have to help get my kids ready and bring them to the car
to school.
Because it's going to feel like the teens on Monday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be those days. If you can just be at home, stay at home.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can just zoom in my forecast from home on Tuesday.
Can I also zoom in?
Sure, why
great. Someone says that we're going to jinx the snow now with our nonstop talk about winter weather.
I hope we do.
Listen,
I hope we do.
Kins Robbie, we're going to keep nonstop talking about this winter weather until it's over, because
That's not how science works.
That's not how science works.
We're going to try it, because folks have been saying, and again, this goes back to a couple weeks ago when some of the models were indicating, we might see some snow. And I said, I don't think we will, and I hope we don't, because we tend to be like this. It's never just an all-day pretty snow. It tends to be throwing some ice in there as well.
And that really is the worst, because when you get the black ice, which you cannot see
you
on
cannot
the roads,
see it.
It gets so
It's very
dangerous.
We try to remember back when you first learned how to drive, of turning into a skid. It's like hydroplaning. You have absolutely no grip of the road, and you have no control of your car. That is a terrifying feeling.
Yeah, it certainly is. And also, the more people, I want to mention while we're at this, that the school cancellations on Tuesday and Wednesday are not because you are forecasting feet of snow. It's because this is precautionary, because the fewer people out on the roads, the fewer people picking kids up from school, the safer everybody is.
Yes, and hopefully now with, since COVID, we've found that a lot of us can work from home, and a lot of folks can do things from home. Hopefully that a lot of employers are also taking that into consideration, to just saying, work from home today, stay at home Tuesday, stay at home Wednesday morning. Conditions will improve. You still have the weekend. Again, tomorrow will be 71 degrees.
Yeah.
Sunday it'll be colder, but you can still go out, and even early, and even Monday it'll be brutally cold, but you're still able to go out and about. And even Tuesday morning to an extent, but you still have 3 full days to go out and get things ready. Yeah,
tomorrow seems like a really good day. Go
Perfect
out,
day for it.
Insulate your pipes, make sure all your plants are inside, make sure you've got enough food, water, medicine, everything that you could possibly need, and get ready to go.
Absolutely.
I think we have, just probably about 2 minutes left here.
Okay.
Someone said, has Orleans Parish ever seen snow after the Saints won the Super Bowl? They remember having it in January of 2009. That's from Joshua.
Have we ever seen it since the Saints won?
Since they won the Super Bowl, he remembers having it in January of 2009.
Measurable snow, that's a good question. I don't remember.
A history question. All right, Joshua, tune
we
in
actually,
at 10.
And I will say,
we'll know the answer by 10.
Normally I would go into the Weather Service's records page, but for some reason there's a 404 error on their snow page. I'm guessing maybe
Memories no one wants to remember.
Everyone around the country is trying to look at the snow history of New Orleans, and the page shut down.
Yeah, we'll certainly be making national headlines.
It does. It's funny when you go back and look at records. It does not happen often that we just get pure snow in New Orleans.
So we're hoping that it's pretty. It melts quickly.
Best case scenario, we get absolutely nothing.
Best case
scenario is it stays south of us and we get absolutely nothing. That is a slim chance, but that is still a possibility. Again, the Gulf low hasn't formed yet. It is still possible, maybe in the lower end of the possibilities, that it forms. It keeps all the moisture down to the south, and we get absolutely nothing.
That'd be great.
We'll see what the trend is. That's actually going to be key, is what the models say throughout the course of this weekend.
Okay, I've got one last question for you, because we only have about 2 minutes left here.
Okay, and I can talk a lot.
What happens next? We know with hurricanes, you get the 4 o'clock update and the 6 o'clock update. What happens with snow? How do you know when the models change? How quickly does it happen?
We get new model runs every 6 hours.
Okay.
The best model runs come in kind of in the morning and in the afternoon. We call them the 0Z and the 12Z. So for us, it's like early morning and then midday, so afternoon, after midnight. So that's when we get kind of the big model runs. And so as new data comes in, so tomorrow morning during our morning newscast, we'll have had the new set of the more accurate GFS and Euro runs. Sunday, again, kind of, or Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, the same thing. But also as we get into Sunday, then a lot of our high resolution models, like the HER that we show, our graph model, those models will also start looking ahead to Tuesday. So then we'll have even more model guidance as to what we'll be setting up. So the closer we get to the event, the more we'll know, and more certainty by Sunday and into Monday.
Okay, that is
and
all
those are
good
still
news.
days you have to prepare.
Okay.
As far as the hard freeze goes, you need to be ready by Monday morning.
Yes. Okay, so spend your weekend getting ready for that. And of course, the information will get better the closer that we get to it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us live wherever you are streaming and on WWL+. We will see you on WWL Louisiana at 10 p.m.